Here to dive into industry trends with leading ETF experts, this is ETF Spotlight with Neena Mishra.
Hello and welcome to ETF Spotlight. I'm your host Neena Mishra. My guest today is Derek Yan, Senior Investment Strategist at KraneShares, and we are talking about Photonics today, which is emerging as a potential solution to one of AI's biggest challenges, that is moving data quickly and efficiently between chips in these AI data centers. And we'll also talk about the KraneShares Photonic and Optical ETF, ticker symbol LUMA. Derek, welcome back. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me today.
So photonics is a term that many of our listeners and investors in general may not be familiar with. So tell us, what exactly is photonics?
Yeah, I think the simplest way to think about this, photonics is to light what electronics is to electricity, right? So electronics, they move data, they move information using electrons, usually through copper wires. Photonics, they move information using photons through optical fiber. So light can carry much more data over longer distances and at much higher speed, and using less power. So that matters enormously inside an AI data center because thousands of chips need to communicate with each other, as you mentioned. So just like we think photonics is the probably biggest bottleneck for the AI build out in the next 5 to 10 years.
As you mentioned, just to summarize, photonics involves transferring data through photons using optical fibers instead of the traditional method which transfers data via electrons in copper wires. So this is not a new technology, and this has become such a hot topic because of AI. And we should remember that NVIDIA's $4 billion investment in photonics companies, Coherent and Lumentum, that also brought attention to the importance of photonics to AI. So tell us, how critical is photonics to the future of AI?
We are in a stage that we have fast computing GPUs, right? So the GPUs computing is not issue, but I think like as CEO of NVIDIA, like Jensen Huang, they mentioned, they need to communicate, right? So that's the issue. For every generation of new GPU, you almost double the demand for connectivity. And now we're seeing the AI clusters are moving to hundreds of thousands and eventually like millions of accelerator across entire AI data centers. At that scale, the current solution, the copper alone cannot move enough data efficiently because as we already said, like the copper can only communicate like for a very short distance. So as this scale of computing clusters keep moving up, you need to use light, right? So that's why I think the whole industry is in a transition. But just in general, this networking, because of new generation of GPU and because of the larger cluster of AI data centers, the Goldman Sachs actually estimate the networking market can grow roughly 9-fold, reaching more than 150 billion by 2028. So this is not a niche. This is kind of like, we think, a tremendous investment opportunity over the next 5 years in the entire AI build out.
So investors often associate photonics with AI. I think photonics got a lot of attention, as I mentioned earlier, because of NVIDIA's statement and Jensen Huang's NVIDIA's investments and Jensen Huang's statements. But this technology has much broader applications. So are there other industries that are being transformed or have the potential to being transformed by photonics?
Yes, I mean, like light-based technology is almost everywhere, right? Like you have light-up autonomous vehicle, you have medical imaging, you have those industrial use cases, like you have communication like 5G, 6G, quantum computing, is a little bit all over the place. But we see the fastest growing and the most critical growth opportunity for the photonics is actually just from the AI data centers. So that's why we are the laser focused on just the AI data center connectivity and networking opportunity compared to, I think, some of the competitors. They're just more broad into many other industries. So that's how LUMA is different from many competitors because we're very focused on this AI data center build out.
So tell us what types of companies make up the photonics ecosystem. And I believe it's a global industry. There are many other countries also which are doing a lot of innovative work in photonics. So also tell us which countries are leading innovation and manufacturing.
Yeah, of course. So if you think about like building the whole photonics system, it's like building a house, right? At the bottom, you need specialty materials and engineered wafers as the foundation, right? So that's kind of like the base. Above that, then you have the manufacturing equipment, highly specialized tools used to grow and process the crystal layers inside lasers and photonic devices. Then you have the components, right? That's kind of like the critical components that generate and control the light, including lasers, silicon photonics chips. Those components are packaged into the optical modules, right? Commonly called transceivers. Those transceivers connect to the optical fiber, and the fiber carries the data. On top of the stack, basically the networking switches, right? They route all kinds of traffic through the data center. So you have this very long ecosystem. Like LUMA actually, what makes us different is we invest not only just like the few names everybody already know, we actually invest across the entire value chain. I think a lot of names people are already familiar with, like Lumentum, Coherent. We do hold them, but we're broader and we are more focused on the upstream. As you said, this is a truly global supply chain, right? So for the United States, we're leading in areas such as like system design, advanced lasers, photonic chip innovations. But then there's many other countries, they are playing an important role. France has an important position in engineered wafers for silicon photonics. Germany is a leader in specialized equipment. China is a major supplier for those transceiver module. Taiwan, they're important in advanced packaging, assembling. Japan has a deep expertise in the fiber and material and some laser components. You need those global ecosystem to build this entire optical infrastructure for the AI build out.
Now, you mentioned that AI networking infrastructure TAM that is expected to reach $150 billion by 2028. How big is the market for silicon photonics in particular currently, and what kind of growth it is expected to see?
So if you think about like current AI capex, right? Goldman project over $700 billion this year, and can go up to $1 trillion, right, in the coming years. So currently, those capex flowing to the networking is very small, right? And the most of the money today is spent still on the copper-based connections, and also for the light-based connections, most are still using kind of like a current technology called pluggables. Basically, you can plug those connectors and then use the light to communicate. The industry is transitioning to actually co-package the whole optics into the chips. They call it co-packaged optics, CPO technology. Today, the revenue for that technology is small, but given that the demand for the connectivity and networking is huge, we believe this pie can grow as Goldman estimate, that 150 billion, I think like a big part going to continue to move to the CPO, to the LITE-based solutions going forward. And that's why we invest in the whole ecosystem into some names like we have Lumentum, Coherent, right? They're the leaders for the suppliers of lasers. Inside that, optical transceivers. As you mentioned, NVIDIA committed $2 billion to each company. They're the most famous names right now. But there's a lot of names I already mentioned in other countries, right? We have Soiltech. It's a French company that supplies the engineered wafers used as the foundation for silicon photonic chips. It has one of the most important technology in the supply chain because they're almost the monopoly for that wafer. Then the Axtron is a it's a German company. They dominate the equipment used to grow the laser layer on top of the wafers. So basically, like Solitech provides the land, Axtron provides the tools to build this house, right? We have a lot of those upstream and a lot of this like kind of like bottleneck within this whole value chain within in the LUMA. So that's how we differentiate ourselves versus many other more concentrated ETF in this space.
Tell us a little bit more about the LUMA ETF, and you mentioned some of the companies in this ETF. Could you talk about some of the top holdings that you find most compelling?
Yeah, as I mentioned, those names I just mentioned, Lumentum, Coherent, but also like Soiltech in France, and then Axtron in Germany. Those names are the top holding of LUMA actually. So it just like is very diversified across the value chain. We used a rule-based methodology to invest in the whole ecosystem. We capture the revenue across the value chain, but also we look at who's actually have a competitive edge. They can maintain that revenue compared to those challengers and competitors. We see like Solitech and Axtron, they have a very like established position. They have like thousands of patents, and it's really hard for others to really compete to build that wafers and also those equipment to make the lasers. So this portfolio is very diversified and is capturing a lot of bottlenecks within this photonic value chain.
So LUMA also holds or intends to hold private companies. Do you have any private companies in the portfolio currently? And how much of the portfolio can private companies represent?
When we filed LUMA, the private companies are in mind because we see this potential to have a lot of innovative solutions in this photonic industry. So in our another like we launched another public and private AI ETF about like over 2 years ago called AGIX, and recently we added AI Labs to AGIX. AI Labs is, I think, also like NVIDIA invested a Photonics company. They have like a solution in the optical input and output that actually can save as much as 85% of energy. So just like private company like AI Labs are the target for LUMA as well. When as LUMA AUM grows, we intend to increase our private investment. And those companies, similarly, we invested previously, can potentially be the target as well.
So what percentage of AGIX is IR Labs currently? Is there any other overlap between LUMA and AGIX?
Yeah, so AGX is the whole ecosystem AI, right? So we have investment into many private company such as Anthropic, from the models layer to a lot of hyperscaler infrastructure, and many applications in the so like even like robotics. We have recently invested in Optical, a humanoid robotic company in AGIX. and ILab is one of the recent investment as well. So we can hold up to 15% into the private. And today, I think AGIX has about like 7.5% into the private holdings. And we have some like SpaceX just recently IPO'd as well. That's accounting to a liquid asset because of the lockup. For LUMA, it's a new launch, so we don't have any private today. So there's no overlap on the private side. But LUMA is more laser focused on the photonics opportunity. Is only one part of the ecosystem, but it's a more pure play. If investors tend to have more conviction on the specific opportunity, LUMA provide a more pure play laser focused solution for those investors.
So the private holdings that you have in AGIX, you mentioned Anthropic, which is currently the hottest private company, and then you mentioned IR Labs also. These investments are directly at the cap table or through any other vehicle like SPVs that some ETFs use?
So currently for AGX, the Anthropic, Photonic, IR Labs on the cap table. We also have Neuro and Polymarket. We like in July 2025 and then December 2025, we also invest in XAI. Then those also on the cap table, those shares became SpaceX shares automatically and then IPO'd. So for the private holdings in AGX is cap table.
So last time we had you on the show, we talked about your humanoid robot, Quiet. And earlier this week, I saw a report that the FCC has restricted new imports of foreign-made humanoids, and that was due to cybersecurity risks. So, Quiet holds many humanoid robotics companies, including those in China. Tell us what this ban means for the humanoid industry in general and for your ETF also.
Yeah, I think this is something we have seen this before. And this is for sure like a validation of the humanoid and physical AI is going to be a critical industry for any country, I think, going forward. And like the FCC actually, they're preventing any foreign-made robots to be sold in the US. I think like then you are actually is benefiting the US suppliers and those humanoid ecosystem. So COID is a globally diversified portfolio with more than 40% allocated to United States, over 20% to China, and 35% to other markets like Europe, Japan, and Korea. So it's quite diversified. And for the finished robots, we currently have like Ubitech, that's about like 2% of the fund, but like we're limited revenue exposure to United States. So the near-term impacts very small, but I think longer term, it's just going to benefit a lot of these suppliers and humanoid players because I think even the US government realized this is the most important industry going forward. So we're going to see more support from both the US side and many other countries on this humanoid and physical AI industry. So for many of the policy, basically like segmentation or just protectionism, is gonna. I think eventually every country gonna have their humanoid suite and they have own humanoid supply chain. So that makes humanoid and physical AI even more global opportunity.
I had one more question about LUMA and some of its top holdings. So I looked at the performance of some of these stocks, and we know that July so far was a terrible month for the AI trade. But today, we are recording this on July 30th for reference. Today, we have seen a nice rebound in the AI trade and chip names, memory names, and photonics names as well. But all these companies, all these stocks, they had surged a lot earlier this year. So looking at the performance, Lumentum is up about 86% year to date, despite the plunge in July. Coherent is up about 35%. And then MRVL Technology, that is up about 115%. And that got a big boost when NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said that MRVL could become the next $1 trillion company. So valuations, they look quite stretched at this point, though they have come down a little bit due to July's sell-off. So tell us about your thoughts on valuations of these companies.
I think like a lot of these names has been some of names have been recognized by the market, right? Like from the past few years performance, we have seen very strong performance for those companies. That's why like COHR choose to be a more diversified portfolio, and with emphasized a lot of the upstream and materials that are truly bottleneck in this supply chain. And also like we think like for LUMA, this opportunity is multiple years, even though like just like for Lumentum Coherent, their capacity is sold out through 2028, right? And for many other companies, the build out of the whole connectivity, the networking, and the LITE-based connection is just the beginning, right? So compared to many other, say, given memory or just like other opportunity, the photonics and connectivity demand or just like the build out, it's just so small. And we're gonna have multiple years of build out and spending on those companies. So that makes the photonics very different compared to kind of like the GPUs or the memories. So we think in the short term, we could have valuation up and down, given how like investment sentiment on the whole AI build out, CapEx. But over the long term, this is something I think still a constraint and a bottleneck for the whole AI CapEx and build out. So if that's the case, I think it feels well for the long-term investors who would actually like have enjoying this multiple years of build out and capture those revenue and CapEx through the photonics ecosystem.
Great stuff. We'll have to leave it there, Derek. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
That was Derek Yan from KraneShares. Let's quickly recap the ETF and stock tickers that we talked about. So the Photonic and Optical ETF ticker symbol is LUMA, LUMA. And we talked about some of the holdings in this ETF. Lumentum Holdings is LITE, LITE. Coherent is COHR. MRVL Technology is MRVL. We also discussed the AI ETF, which invests in private companies as well, Anthropic and IR Labs. The ticker symbol is AGIX. Now, there are some more photonic ETFs, even though this is a new area, relatively new area for AI. So the leader in this space, even though all of these are very new, but the Corgi Lithography and Semiconductor Photonics ETF, ticker symbol EUV, which launched in May, currently has about 380 million in assets and charges 35 basis points. I think that is the cheapest in this space. Total offers a pure play Photonics ETF, ticker symbol FOTO, FOTO. This has about 130 million in assets, and there's one by Tema also, Tema Photonics, and Optical ETF, ticker symbol LAZR, LAZR. That has about 18 million in assets. Thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave us a rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to subscribe so that you do not miss any episode. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please email podcast@zax.com.
This material is being provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein constitutes investment, legal, accounting, or tax advice, or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold a security. Do not act or rely upon the information and advice given in this podcast without seeking the services of competent and professional legal, tax, or accounting counsel. Publication and distribution of this podcast is not intended to create, and the information contained herein does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. No recommendation or advice is being given as to whether any investment or strategy is suitable for a particular investor. It should not be assumed that any investments in securities, companies, sectors, or markets identified and described were or will be profitable. All information is current as of the date herein and is subject to change without notice. Any views or opinions expressed may not reflect those of Zacks Investment Research as a whole.